Are you ready? Turn it up! Yeah! Welcome to the noise inside your head. No holding back, we live on the edge. Let's go!
And welcome back into another episode of the Sage Against the Machine podcast. I am your host, former U.S. Senate candidate Nathan Sage here in Iowa, the podcast that is speaking truth to power for working class people because we need proper representation in this country, and that is why we are doing what we're doing here. And I am joined again by my friend and colleague, Dr. Bob Leonard. You know him. He's a retired radio journalist with bylines in the New York Times, Time, USA Today, and many more publications. He writes at Deep Midwest Politics and Culture. Dr. Bob Leonard, say hello.
Hello, Nathan. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's very much appreciated.
That's Dr. Bob Leonard. And now we get to our guest for today. I'm excited to have him here. Jerrad Christian is the Democratic nominee for Ohio's 12th Congressional District, a U.S. Navy veteran and working class advocate. He's running to lower costs for families, expand access to health care, protect democracy, and bring more accountability to Washington. Christian is challenging Republicans in a district long considered safely red, arguing that working people deserve leaders who will put their interests ahead of corporate and special interests. Jerrad Christian, say hello.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We were excited. You know, I know that your campaign manager reached out and said that you wanted to be a part of our podcast and be able to chat with me and be on here. And we're excited to have you. We're hoping we can continue to have, maybe we'll have you on right before the election as well. But I was excited to have you. I've read through some of your stuff. I watched some of your videos. And the one thing I caught right off the bat was you're not scared to cuss, and I like that. You're not scared to be you. You're not scared to be who you are. So first of all, I guess I like to let it, open it up this way and say, you're here on the Sage Against the Machine podcast. We are all about speaking truth to power. We are all about fighting for people that don't have a voice. And so I want to give you the floor, and I want to say, hey, Jerrad, tell us who you are, what you're trying to do, and why it's important, so important to our country.
I am Jerrad Christian, running for U.S. Congress for Ohio's 12th district. I think that, the biggest takeaway, the biggest thing for me is that I'm just a guy out in the world. I'm just a dad who got tired of being pissed when I woke up in the morning, got tired of reading the bad news, and I know that we're capable of a lot greater things than we're doing. Wanted to be a part of that.
When you look at your district and you look how difficult it is, here's what I want to do for you, Jerrad. I want to give you props. I know how when I got into the race, when I was going to run, it was like, okay, Iowa has been a state that's been controlled by Republicans for the past decade, if not longer now. We have two senators that are Republicans. We had one that said we were all going to die. Like there was, it's like looking at a brick wall and going, how the hell do I get over this, right? How do I get past this? Because and I know in Iowa, Ohio, it doesn't matter where you're at, that there's people and there's working class individuals that are struggling every day to make ends meet, that are struggling every day to figure out where they're going to, get their next meal or what they're going to do. So I want you to explain to us, like, when you thought about running, what was the moment? What was the thing for you that just kind of set it off as like, this has to be done. We have to do something. And if not you, if not me, who, if not now, when? What made you go, you know what? I gotta do this, even though the challenge is going to be extremely hard.
Honestly, I didn't know what I was walking into. I was waking I was waking up every morning and I was picking up my phone and I was reading the news and COVID had just kind of died down. 2023. The world was kind of opening back up and man, I was just miserable. I was waking up and reading the news and I was worried about my life and my son's future and the world around me and I just decided I couldn't stand by and do nothing. Because it turns out action is the cure to despair. And I have done a lot of taking action. And it is, it's really shown me a world I didn't even know existed, where there are a lot of people out here already doing the work that you're afraid isn't getting done. Uh, I've really become a part of a community much larger than myself who cares in ways that I couldn't even imagine while I was sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, I think for me, that's one thing that I have really learned in my time. I like that you brought that up because I feel like everybody says Democratic Party is a large tent party, but you don't really realize it until you experience it and you're around it and all the people that are involved in it. And, one thing that caught me from my perspective was the amount of people that were just excited to have somebody willing to put themselves out there, willing to say the things that need to be said so people know we're not going to continue to do this. And that was awe-inspiring. So take real quick from your perspective, what are the moments that you've had in this campaign where you're just like inspired by other, not just yourself, but other people, but also that you continue to reflect on and go, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing?
I think realistically, having people show up at protests en masse. I mean, some of the small towns around District 12 where you would expect, you look at the world, you look at these counties and how quote unquote red they are, you expect these protests to be empty. Some of them have hundreds of people in places you would never expect it. A lot of folks are starting to wake up to the fact that, even if somebody says the angry words that you're feeling, it doesn't necessarily mean that they care about them. And I think that a lot of Americans realizing that we're capable of better and they're showing up for it. And that's really exciting to me.
Absolutely. Dr. Bob Leonard, I know you're itching for questions. Go ahead.
I've got lots of questions and some comments. One of the things that really struck me in looking at your resume is that you had a lot of jobs. You've done a lot of different things. Nathan's done a lot of different things. I haven't counted lately, but I bet I've had more than 25 or 30 jobs in my life. And all of those different jobs, most of them blue collar, gave me a different perspective on the world. You've had a lot of different jobs too, and they're very different jobs, which suggests that you're very adaptable, you're bright, you're a quick learner. Can you tell us about some of those jobs that you'd like to share to help make you you?
Sure. When I first got out of the military, my first couple years, I was a flight deck fueler on an aircraft carrier when Iraq first started. We were the primary bomber. My last 3 years, I became a meteorologist and oceanographer in the Navy. I was stationed in Naples, Italy. Wonderful experience, side note. When I got out, much like many folks who join the military, I think that transition can be a little difficult. So you kind of take whatever jobs come your way. And even though, you have all of these adventures and experiences in the military, most of them don't count for shit when you get out. So a friend of mine who was a corpsman got me a job at an outdoor education facility where I taught like leadership and, survival and stuff to these little kids who did ropes courses for about sixth graders mostly. Super cool job, but it didn't pay me enough to eat food. So I became a retail manager for a while. That sucked real bad, so I left that. Uh, and I became security at a bar. I was a bouncer, which eventually worked me into being a bartender. And I did that for a lot of years until eventually I found out that I was going to be a father. So I became a janitor in a factory. Um, I did that for years until I learned how to do software engineering online. Then I went through a tech school to help with job placement, and I've been a software engineer for about 8 years.
That's pretty remarkable. Yeah, that's a wide breadth of expertise. Nathan, I don't think you and I are smart enough to do all of that.
Well, you know what it sounds what I caught in that, what I caught was like I feel it because I'm a veteran too. Like the moment when you get out of the military and you're like, what the fuck am I gonna do now, right? Like, and you got to figure that path out, and so many people I know like Jerrad that find that path to be able to support themselves, and it's funny because most of us that join the military don't have that. We're behind. Like we don't have a lot of opportunities, so we join the military to give us opportunities. And then you get out and you're like, well, I just left something that I had a lot of opportunities, and now I'm trying to figure out how to find those opportunities. And I think Jerrad did a good job, in my opinion, of trying to find the next thing to be able to support himself, to be able to get to that level where he can support his family. And so his story resonates with so many veterans like myself because it's that's what it's like. You got to try to figure out what you can do in this world to be able to support yourself. So I like what he said there. Dr. Bob, keep going though. I know you got more questions.
Well, it shows that's sort of like the working class life. You
Absolutely.
work from one thing to another till you find a good fit, one that pays enough. And like we said in our conversation the other day with Caitlin Dre, that people that have done what you've done, they have the same kinds of feelings in common that regular people have. Like, and the examples I used the other day is the joy of the whir of the ATM machine where you're happy that there's something there. You've had that feeling, haven't you, Jerrad?
Yeah,
The,
absolutely.
the fear of going to the mailbox to find a bill you didn't anticipate. You've had that too, I suspect. I also suspect that you, like Nathan and I, buy tires two at a time because you can't afford four tires. That's our world, isn't it?
When actually shortly after I got out of the military, I tried to use my GI Bill for a while. Never finished a college degree because I didn't want to go into debt, and you only get 3 years.
Hmm.
So while I was using my GI Bill, it was really tough to find a job where I was, and I lived in an apartment without heat through the winters because I couldn't afford to turn my heat on. So I mean, like I grew up in poverty, and even after I got out of the military, there are certainly times that I, as an adult, have struggled. And it just we would like to attribute everything to skill, but luck plays such a drastic role in how successful we are in life that it's indescribable.
One thing that I want to piggyback off that really quick, what you just said, because I think it connects a lot of things. So, one thing I say about the military, you know this as well, is like we learn in the military, you learn to adapt to situations and you learn kind of not to complain because you could always have it worse, right? You could be in the field for 2 months and not take showers and all the so you learn how, like I went to Iraq 3 times and I was 120 degrees and you're out there just doing things. You learn not to complain about it. And same way in the working class, same way that you're talking about, it sucks and you're mad that you don't have the money to put the heat on in your apartment. But what I go to is there's so many people across this country, so many people that deal with those issues every single day that are tired of dealing with those issues and can't do it anymore. And it seems like we get told from Washington, D.C., well, a little bit of pain goes a long ways. Well, it's hard. It's easy for someone who has a lot of money and has opportunities to say that, while most of us are just on the ground level trying to figure out what to do. So I want you to speak about that really quick. Talk about, what it's like from your side to talk to voters who are struggling and and you're out here trying to fight for them. Talk about what it's like to speak to those voters, to connect to those voters, and how you do that, knowing that we can't continue on this path of watching democracy continue to stumble, or I like to say stub its toe, while we watch the chaos going on. Talk about just how it is to talk to those working class voters, especially in Ohio.
I deal with a lot of union folks, and I can appreciate the work that they do. I've worked in a factory. I've, scrubbed floors. I've done hard work. Being on the flight deck was an incredibly challenging role. Um, but I think that at the end, the biggest obstacle that we have in the United States is tribalism.
Hmm.
Um, People really, really, really love their team jerseys. And that's why we're losing democracy in this country, is because people's affinity for the team that they love is more powerful than their desire to build a better nation. In their minds, their team is going to save the world. They're going to come up and they're going to do all the great things, and we're all going to live in a utopia. But the reality is that we're all struggling, and it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican or libertarian or independent, name a thing. We have work to do, and I think we have to focus more on doing it together than splitting us up into these little groups that allow the very wealthy to continue to dominate our lives.
So let me ask you this then. I like how you use the team reference because I'm a huge sports guy. Dr. Bob used to call me a sports doer. Um, you know, there's bandwagon fans out there. I like to think of them as like the independents, right? The people that don't like to necessarily be a part of a team. So how do you know, doing what you're doing, going out there speaking, how do you get those bandwagon fans or those people that are a little iffy, or those people that don't care about sports at all? Like, how do you get those people that are on the sidelines, just wanting to enjoy their lives? How do you get those people to understand that you are there for them and not the same thing over and over?
If I could figure that secret out, I would have already won. It's
Good answer.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is that people are very stuck in their ways. Getting a person to acknowledge that the thing that they thought wasn't correct is probably one of the most difficult things for a human to do. It's just to acknowledge that they were wrong about something and move on. Me personally, I have never had a problem with being wrong because it means I'm learning something, I'm growing, I'm becoming a better human. Um, so what I do is generally just instead of espousing party ideals, because I mean, honestly, what do the parties even stand for anymore?
Hmm.
We have to talk about the government not as some separate entity as Reagan liked to advertise it, but as a thing that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. We are the government. We are. And everything that it does, good, bad, any of it, is all in our name. We are responsible for it. Whether we voted on the right or we voted on the left or we didn't vote at all, it is our responsibility to make sure that our government and our nation is headed down the right path. And that's a responsibility that I take incredibly seriously.
You said that what do the parties stand for anymore anyway? What do you stand for?
Taking care of people. I think that the best thing that we can do, the entire reason that society exists, that we dragged ourselves out of caves and built little villages and started growing gardens, is so that we could take care of each other, so that we could be taken care of as individuals. And I think that that expands in scope that when the world is better, when your life is better, my life is better. It's not a zero sum game where like you get all the joy and I get none. We can both live good lives. And I think that if we depend on each other and we lean on each other like the way a good society should, then we start to build that up and each of us can have a good life.
I
Well,
absolutely
that's
agree.
sort of,
Sorry, Dr. Bob. I was just gonna say, like, not many people on here like give me goosebumps. I know Lindsey James did, and we had a few people, but I appreciate what you just said there, Jared. Dr. Bob, go ahead.
well, I'm just thinking that in many ways, what you're describing is what the United States was founded on. But part of our founding, part of our history was also rugged individualism, that I can make it on my own, that with enough hard work, I can be successful and I don't need anybody else. And that sort of myth permeates through society today. You want to take apart that myth a little bit?
I would put forth the idea that if you shop at a grocery store, you couldn't survive on your own. If you live in a house built by someone else's hands, you couldn't live on your own. If you I mean, if you don't own property that you don't have to pay, or if you own property you don't have to pay taxes on, you could maybe do it. But we live in such an interconnected world that that idea, you can live an independent life, but you will always be affected by and have an effect on the people around you. So you literally cannot just vanish off the face of the planet anymore. We inherited a world that was already well past that, and as technology continues to increase, as our interconnectedness as humans continues to increase, we cannot make it on our own. We cannot buy enough land. And back then there were wealthy people, but they had far less of an opportunity to stick their boot on your neck than they do now. And boy, do they love doing that to us. So I would say that rugged individualism is great in theory, impossible in practice.
I like that answer. One
Right.
thing I wanted to ask you, here in Iowa, we have, going around, I did my 99 county tour and uncovered a lot of the issues that now our politicians, our candidates are speaking about. One of those things here, obviously, is clean water. We talk a lot about here in Iowa because we suck at it. But what are in Ohio specific in your district? What are I say like the top two main issues that you're dealing with or hearing about, and talk about how you're facing those and looking forward to the future to be able to serve people, to be able to fix those issues.
I think one of the biggest of things like publicly affecting everyone right now is data centers. I'm not sure how big of an issue you guys have with that in Iowa. Um, But it's interesting to hear the arguments from the people who support them, is that we have to win the AI race against China. But do you know that there are more data centers in the state of Virginia than in the entire country of China? Like,
That's insane.
what are we doing here? Why do we think that we need 700 times the number of data centers than the nation that we're trying to beat? What's actually happening is they're trying to uh, build a surveillance state, which deeply concerns me with flock cameras and data centers. Um, and they're just trying to replace us in our jobs. It's that simple. We're not trying to build some benevolent AI. We're trying to take people's jobs away so that the rich can get richer and we can get fucked.
Do you mind if so you brought up data centers. Do you mind if I bring up something about your opponent, Troy Balderson, and data centers?
By all means.
Well, he and Republicans, as well, we're hitting this time period when the data centers are consuming so much electricity, they're driving electricity prices up. But the Republicans, right when we were ready to, including your opponent, Balderson, right when we were ready to really make differences with renewable energy, they pulled the rug out from under
Mhm.
that and sent us back to coal and fossil fuels. That's not looking out for Americans, for Iowans, for Ohioans. It's not. It is something that is your opponent and the Republican Party across the board, by and large, is making our energy costs go through the roof. And at the same time, I read yesterday that President Trump took off the emission standards on data centers so that they can emit chemicals, particles, I'm forgetting the names, fluorocarbons, I think, but that um, break apart our ozone layer. That we were having a problem with that in the 60s, and we managed to solve it in the 60s and 70s. Now the data centers everywhere are going to do this. They are already doing vast environmental damage, and your opponent and Republicans in general, and through supporting the actions of President Trump, they're making the problem worse. We're going backwards on energy, backwards on emissions, backwards on protection of the environment. And that isn't the values of Iowans, and I suspect that it isn't the values of Ohioans. Tell me.
I would agree that is not the value of any good person. I it doesn't matter what state they're from. I think that we can all acknowledge that having clean water, clean air, tillable land, huntable forests are all incredibly important. I mean, Ohio is a very outdoor state, much like I imagine Iowa.
Hmm.
But the stupid part about all of this is that Troy, my opponent, voted against the infrastructure bill that would have made building out all of this stuff a lot easier. I mean, we it ended up passing in the end, but no thanks to him. And if you want to find out who your candidates are, if you want to find out who they really are, look at who's giving to their campaigns. Who's donating funds to get them in that office? And I guarantee you that people, yeah, Troy has been taking a lot of money from Big Oil forever. He takes money from Big Pharma forever. And lately, he's been taking large sums from the lobbyists for wearable fitness tech. So he's got a law in right now where he's trying to deregulate that technology so that they can just say and do whatever they want. And people have a tendency to look at these things and be like, well, deregulation's the way to go. The government shouldn't tell us how to live our lives, forgetting that they're not telling you how to live your life. If you want to build some random ass Aura ring in your garage and try to wear it around and make it work, that's on you, man. But what they're trying to do is make sure that corporations can't screw you. They can't kill you. They can't give your kids cancer and then roll out because one of the things that we inherited in Ohio is generations worth of people coming in and stealing the wealth of our lands, natural gas, coal, you name it, just stealing it and leaving us to clean up the mess. We've had massive methane emissions from orphaned wells. We are a dumping ground in this state for injection wells. It's leaking into our water systems, it's leaking up onto the surface, and some of our state legislatures are actually heavily invested in these kind of companies, these injection wells, and when they leak, the state cleans it up instead of making the corporation clean it up. All of these things are happening out in the blue. And one of the things that I found the most eye-opening in running for Congress was when you're sitting out in the world, you look at it and you're like, oh, that's not great. Nothing's working as well as it could be. But when you get in here and you start seeing the stuff that most people are ignoring, you realize just how insanely broken all this shit is. That has been one of the hardest things to acknowledge is just like how far our system has gone off the rails.
One of the things that I think we need to do is we need to start framing all of this differently. That a lot of people would just say, you know, what we've been talking about, well, those are just policy differences.
Mm.
No, they're not. It's state-sponsored structural violence. And structural violence, I'm an anthropologist, and it's a term we in sociologists use when the state stops you from, oh, having medical care, being able to make a living, um, having mental health care, anything that the state does that some people will call policies that harms people, like emissions that will give children cancer. That's not policy, that's violence. And we
Yeah.
need to start talking about it as violence. And it's being perpetuated. And so when emission standards are lowered, people die. And that's why we need the regulations to protect us. And I think reframing that, nothing that I've seen that Balderson has done or anything under the Trump administration, I haven't seen them do anything that really helps everyday people and not bring harm upon us and violence on, in particular, certain people in our society, but also with respect to the environmental and the renewable power kinds of things that really hurt us.
Yeah, we could be manufacturing this green energy right here in the US. There was a solar panel company opened in District 12 here fairly recently that a lot of folks fought. Um, but it has provided a lot of jobs. And these data centers popping up are not going to provide a lot of jobs. There will be some temporarily, but once they're up and running, you're just going to have to sit and listen to them whine. And I agree with you that it's a reframing of this entire thing. I think that a lot of people when they picture violence, they're picturing like a fist fight outside a bar or something. But if we just, I'm just branding it as they're killing your kids and then you're voting for them and thanking them for it. And I don't like to really use the phrase like voting against your own self-interest because I think that that drives that team wedge a little deeper. Um, and it pushes the responsibility off onto the individual instead of us as a collective. And ultimately, it is on us as an individual. I was largely apolitical after the military. I thought the world would just work. Turns out I was very wrong. And I know that if we talk to people in a way that they understand things, the way that I understand things, just talking like a normal human, they're giving your kid cancer and then they're driving away and leaving you holding the bag. That's how we get through.
One thing I wanted to ask you real quick, you talk about talking, being real and talking. I know that it has to be very frustrating for you, from my own perspective, is raising money, right? And
Sure.
you talked about Balderson and the oil money he's getting from oil and everything he's doing to make sure that he has enough money to not have to deal with the common man almost. But talk about that real quick about struggles of, trying to raise money to continue to do what you're doing and you know, I know that from DC's perspective that they don't tend to you're the guy, but it's hard to get a lot of their attention unless you can show that you can win, right? And
Sure.
it's a very hard uphill battle. Talk about that frustration from your side of things, like because I know I've talked about my frustration about it, but like the amount of like you're trying to do good, you have the right message, people are it's resonating with people. You just need a little bit more help to be able to get more attention and more opportunities for those voters to vote for you. So I want you to talk a little bit about your um, experience with trying to raise money and your experience in general with of trying to it sucks because you're trying to market yourself to people and represent people, but you also have to market yourself to a lot richer people and a lot different people. So talk about that process for you and how that's been.
Oh, I think the way you
I
just
love
kind of
it.
described.
I just love the sigh. Like I love that. That was perfect. Keep going.
I
Anyways.
So much of life is just a big heavy sigh, man.
Yeah.
I I think the way you described it just now makes me think of like it always just feels like, man, if you had just a little bit more, you are on the cusp of greatness. You
Yes.
can, if you just had a little more, if you could just push a little harder, if you just got the right person's attention, you could just change everything and it would all start rolling along. But this shit is hard. It's hard. Running for Congress, man, I work a full-time job. I'm not a wealthy human being. I work every weekday like any other random human and my evenings are filled with calls and traveling and events and like I have no time. I sometimes I'm up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm just like, man, it's quiet finally. And but raising money is incredibly difficult. Troy, last time we checked last quarter, he had 32 Ohio donors. 32. We have a couple thousand, and he has outraised me because of corporate PACs. We've raised a little over 100,000 if I had to guess, which last time around we did a lot better, but everybody's broke
Hmm.
because the world sucks right now. And he has over $2 million.
Yeah.
What the shit does he even need that for? All he does is just sit around. Like he doesn't have to show up. He doesn't have to care. He doesn't even have to pretend to care, as we've seen time and time again. And yeah, raising money is the worst part of this. My Appalachian pride makes it really difficult to ask people for money. Um, I was raised in poverty, and it's that's probably the worst part of the whole thing is being like, could you spare some cash? Because I know I couldn't.
Yeah. I always laugh about that. What you just said, Appalachian pride. It's a thing from the poverty because I've talked about this many times about you did it like you just mentioned like when you were getting out of the Navy, you did all these different jobs to be able to raise money to be able to support yourself and be able to eat food. Like we come from an area and come from a place where like I know you're the same as me where I'm not going to ask that guy for money. What I'm going to do is go over and be like, "Hey, I'll mow your lawn for $10, or I'll fix your
Yeah.
car, or I'll give you a ride, or whatever it is." And I think that's why Jared. I think that's why me and you are good at not say talking to people, but you're good at being real with people because like people like for me, like when I'm talking to somebody, they know that I'm not bullshitting them because of the way I speak and the way I'm kind to them and the way I talk about the issues and they know where I come from because me and you and people like us who grew up the way we grew up and understand this world is not made for everybody, we have that little chip on our shoulder all the time that it's sometimes can hurt us when raising money is because like you just said like I don't want to fucking ask this guy for money. Like, I want to work for it and I want to show these people I'm worth it. And that is extremely frustrating. And it's extremely frustrating when you just said there too, where you're going on an uphill battle, man. If somebody can just give me a quick push or someone give me just enough fuel to get in my tank to get to the finish line, I know we can do something big here. So, what
Yeah.
I want you to do right now, we're running out of time here. First of all, I got to ask Dr. Bob, do you have any more questions?
Yes, I've got lots. I want to just say I went through his, and he doesn't have to address it here unless he wants to, but I went through his donors. I saw a big scandal, with respect to a bribery scandal, First Energy that Balderson was tied to, where there were criminal charges brought, not against him, but that's dirty money. This is a dirty money company that bribed elected officials that he is accepting donations from. Also, the Walmart money that's giving him the Walmart money to me is dirty money too, because Walmart doesn't pay its employees enough to live. And so we pay their employees to keep them alive by giving them different kinds of benefits, SNAP benefits, for example. So his money, I haven't gone through all of it, but it's a lot of it's dirty money and money that you won't accept and that I wouldn't accept. Nathan didn't accept, and APAC money too. Listen, we don't even have to go there unless you want to. But he is bought and sold.
Yeah.
They own him.
Yeah, that's true. Throughout his entire career, he's taken big oil money, and he is big on pushing natural gas. He's trying to get it designated as green energy. That's how stupid this shit is. And
Yeah.
what was your the first energy money? Uh, There's a man in prison, the former Speaker of Ohio House is in prison for 20 years because of that. There's an actual HBO documentary about it. Um, Now our current appointed senator has taken crap loads of money from them. Our current governor has taken, he had $1 million from them, and then he's like, "Oh, I didn't even know they gave me $1 million." What kind of idiot doesn't know when somebody gave them $1 million? $1 million. And right now, John Husted's sitting in that Senate seat that was vacated by Vance. Sorry, United States. JD Vance is from Ohio. Um, and he also pretends to be from Appalachia, by the way. But these people are in there and they have robbed us blind and they have told us to thank them for it, and too many people are thanking them for it. If we just elect
Absolutely.
them, I just picture it as like, God, guys, if you just elect me one more time, it'll be different this time, I swear. That's
Yeah.
what we get.
I always think of it like like an abusive relationship,
Yep.
like the women that like, well, why didn't you call the cops when he was kicking you in the face and pushing you down the stairs? Well, you got to understand there's more to it, right? There's not more to it. You got kicked in the fucking face. Like, what are you doing? Right?
You know
And
what? Actually, right now, our other senator, Bernie Moreno, his daughter is married to a U.S. congressman from Ohio named Max Miller. Max Miller has been accused of physically abusing his child and breaking her collarbone, and he has been accused of throwing scalding water on Bernie Moreno's daughter, his wife. And Bernie Moreno has not spoken out about it. Like, what kind of people are these? They're
yeah,
If someone threw scalding water on my kid, I'm not even going to describe to you in this podcast the things that would happen. But to sit and accept it and to tell people to vote for that piece of shit is, I don't even have the words. It makes me so angry. And that
that's how
is
I
what they
felt
are
about.
doing to
Sorry,
all of
that's what I felt about Graham Plantner as well. I think what you're saying is, but like I said, is like when it comes to it, Jerrad, here's what I want. I want you to. This is your moment. I used to do this when I was radio. Dr. Bob get annoyed with it, but I want you to your best sales pitch, right? We're talking about these issues. We're talking about these pieces of shit. We're talking about bad money. We're talking about the environment. We're talking about working class issues that are affecting our families and affecting our lives and making it harder for all of us to fucking live. I want you to give your best sales pitch as to why you say fuck Boulderson, fuck what we're doing, fuck this division in this country. I want you to give me the reason why Ohioans and Americans in general need to get behind you and support you and make sure that we have actual working class representation and the proper people we need in Washington. Now's your chance to let it go.
I wake up as pissed as the rest of you. And if you're not waking up pissed, you're not waking up, or you're not paying attention. That's the bottom line. These people have been screwing us since before I've even been alive. And the best defense that a lot of these people have for not releasing the Epstein files, where a bunch of children got raped. The perpetrators, their names aren't even released yet. And they look at me, who I grew up conservative. I used to consider myself a Republican until one day I was like, whoa, nothing they're doing matches what I think of the universe. And the same people just excuse that and they look at me and they're like, well, what if Clinton's in there? Dude, I was 12. I don't give a shit if Clinton is in there. If he's in there and he raped kids, put him in prison. What do I care? If Biden committed a crime, put him in prison. I don't care. This team game bullshit is literally killing people. You talk about being pro-life, but you want your neighbor to fucking starve to death. What is happening? What are we even doing? God, just being a human in the world is hard enough without all of us just shitting on each other all the time and treating us like we're all not even really people. I am a human being out here in the world. You are human beings out here in the world. And I know that if we get our heads out of our asses, we are capable of so much better than we're getting right now. And the key is to get people in these positions of power that actually give a shit if we live or die. That's the whole thing. That's it. I give a shit if you live or die.
That's a perfect way of saying it. Dr. Bob Leonard, any more questions before we let Jerrad go?
I can't top that. That's
I
great.
want
Thank you.
the only last thing I ask from you, Jerrad, we want to help you. Okay, we always want to help you. We want to help anybody that comes on. Tell us how we can help you. Tell us your website, your social media, whatever. Tell us how we can help you.
Sure. Christianforohio.com. It's FOR, not the number. It is also my name, not a cult. So all the social media links are there. You can follow me. I am always the person that you see right here in front of you right now, every moment of my life. Um, and come and join it and be a part of it, whether it's through donations or, sharing social media posts, or if you live in the region and you want to help out by knocking doors or just being a part of the thing we're doing, there's a volunteer form on the website.
Awesome. Jerrad Christian, Ohio District 12 candidate for U.S. Congress. I appreciate you so much for coming on the Sage Against the Machine podcast. And what I like about you and what I'll continue to tell everybody about you, the same thing I got over and over again, people shaking my hand. I know the same way with you. You're real. You're a real person. You're a real guy. You're a real veteran. You're somebody that knows that this world is not made for everybody. And so we'll make sure that your links are put in our posts when we share those out, and we'll make sure that we get the attention. We'll send you everything. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today, speaking truth to power, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and good to meet both of you. And Dr. Bob, you said you have a lot of questions. Feel free to email them my way. I'll take a look.
Will do.
Thank you, guys.
Yep,
Thank you.
appreciate you. And again, thank you to Jerrad Christian from Ohio's 12th District for joining us, the candidate for U.S. Congress there. If you don't know him, if you don't know anything about him, please look him up, follow the links that we'll put in our post, and help him out. Like, I know how hard it is to raise money. He knows how hard it is to raise money, and we got to get money to get to the finish line. So if you get a chance, please donate his way and make sure that he's taken care of, because we need as many good working class individuals in Washington, D.C. to fix the things that are going on in this country. And I appreciate his honesty. I appreciate him being here and joining us today. But moving right along, wanted to talk about a few other things. Obviously, I want to get to headlines, but the first thing that I wanted to talk about really quickly was my wife and I went to the Rob Sand town hall event for Warren County. It was in Carlisle. I believe it was on Tuesday evening in Carlisle. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is I know Rob put out a post recently about like how he handed the microphone to somebody. I can't remember Ron. I can't remember his name,
Gary
but he
Leffler.
was yes. What would you say, Gary Leffler?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he kind of trolls him online a little bit, and he's always in his comments, and Rob said that during the event, and he goes, "We're going to give you the microphone anyway, and you ask your questions," because he's not scared to answer. And I'm just going to say this: that is what I love about Rob Sand. What I love about Rob Sand is he's not scared to deal with the hard questions. He's not scared to have difficult conversations, because he knows, and he said this during the event, that we're all Iowans, and a lot of these fights and a lot of these arguments that we have are actually just little disagreements, and we just view things just a little bit different. And what I want to say is, I want people to. I know Laura Bellin put it out, the video, the whole video. She recorded it. If people get a chance to see the interaction there, please do. So I'll point that in Lauren's direction. But one of the questions, I'll just say really quick, I'm not going to get into it, was about abortion. And the way Rob answered it got my wife teary-eyed. And I just want to say that is what, like the way he answered that question, and the way he handed Gary the microphone and conducted that whole town hall, it goes back to why I endorse Josh Turk, or why I endorse Lindsey James, and why I would endorse like Rob. Like he's a good person, and he gets it. And I just wanted to make sure I put that out there, that if you are a Republican or independent for some reason, listen to this, and you're questioning about Rob Sand, the thing that I will vouch for is he is a human being, and he is a good-hearted person. And I think when it comes to politics, it's refreshing, and I'm excited to see him be our next governor. So I just wanted to make sure I put a note of that. But we got to move along here on the Sage Against Machine podcast. I do want to get into the headlines that matter. We're going to do it a little flip this time. We're going to do Iowa headlines first. They kind of go together a little bit. And then we're going to do the national headline, because that leads into why I'm going to cuss today. So the Iowa headlines that I wanted to make sure that we talked about, Dr. Bob, I thought was really, really cool. I woke up yesterday I woke up in the morning to a text from Jen Pellant with post, a social media post, and it was the commercial that everybody has seen in Iowa now recently, or the ad on social media of Barack Obama and Josh Turek shooting hoops together and playing, instead of horse, they're playing Iowa, and former President Barack Obama makes the the comment that, I know a little bit about winning in Iowa. So if nobody knows, former President Barack Obama endorsed Josh Turek for the United States Senate. In a campaign video, playing basketball, like I said, at that gym, and he's going to do what he can to help flip this state to blue. And I thought, Dr. Bob, and I know you probably agree that is a home run, because I know Iowa voted Obama. Iowa led Obama to that victory, and we've talked about it. You've talked about it. And the one thing that stood out to me, Dr. Bob, before I let you speak on this, the one thing that I am just in my mind hoping comes reality is from when President Barack Obama was president. We make the joke now, but the comments were always, by Republicans specifically, was "Thanks, Obama." When anything ever went wrong, it was "Thanks, Obama." And here's my little moment of joy that I'm hoping for happens in November. I hope when Josh Turek wins and turns that seat blue like it should be, back to Tom Harkin's seat, and we get Josh Turek in that seat, I hope Republicans across Iowa are going, "Thanks, Obama." I hope that happens. What are your thoughts, Dr. Bob?
I thought it was a very powerful video. It was really, really good, and Josh and some other candidates were at the Iowa Farmers Union annual meeting in Elkhart on Saturday, and Josh was there, and he talked about the moment, the recording. He told us that it was coming, and it was very interesting, and he said that Obama is really a good shot. Really good shot. And so that was interesting to hear. But when you look at the video, if you look at it closely, the professional production is just like spot on. Every sound, every movement was just beautifully done. But what it showed to me was that both of the men have a sense of humor, a relatable sense of humor, and that both are quietly powerful. And that's what I left with. Two quietly powerful men of talent and kindness. And, it brought me back to the hope days of President Obama. So it was great.
Yeah, I always think, every time I think of Obama, I think of his speech in Chicago when he won. I remember watching that before I joined, like right around the time I joined the Army, and I was just like, this guy gets it. This guy is what we need. And one thing I always think about when I think about Obama, I know there's a lot of hate by Republicans, but one thing I always think about just specifically is, I remember in 2008, and you remember in 2008, Dr. Bob, the housing crisis and the economy and how horrible it was, and the issues that we were getting into. And there wasn't a lot of hope at that time, and Obama did bring that hope. And for 8 years, it feels like for 8 years, maybe this is just for me, it felt like we had, here's the way to look at it. We didn't have fucking chaos every day. The biggest issue that Obama had, or at that time, was he was wearing a tan suit, and they made it into the worst thing. He didn't have a January 6th. Like, we didn't have that in Obama. We had calmness. And it wasn't always, going the way that we wanted to go under Obama, but it was not this continued chaos or this continued feeling like nobody gave a shit. Like, it felt at that time people cared about their neighbors and cared more, and that's what I'm hoping for. And I know, Josh, that's why you mentioned the sense of humor. That's why me and Josh are friends, is that sense of humor. That's what honestly did it. And I saw that, and it instantly gave me hope, and I hope it gave so many people hope across Iowa, because we have a candidate in Josh Turek that we can get that seat back to blue, and that means the world. And I'm just excited for Josh, and I'm excited to just have. And man, I'm just gonna say this: if we gets down to it, if this race is really close, especially October, November. If we can get former President Barack Obama campaigning in Iowa again, do you know how many people would be excited about that? Like that would be cool. Josh has talked about Iowa being the center of the political universe this election this time around, and that would definitely put the icing on the cake. That'd be pretty cool. So I was excited for that. And yeah, I'm excited to move forward. So I wanted to make sure we talked about it because anytime I can talk about, something like that, it's worth it. So, moving right along though, one thing that I did want to get to, I actually, the next headline, I got to bring it up here real quick, was about our friend and colleague Lindsey James. So Lindsey James has been named to the DCCC Red to Blue program. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically for Congress. So the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee has added Iowa Democratic congressional candidate Lindsey James to its highly competitive Red to Blue program, a designation reserved for top-tier candidates in winnable races. Again, in winnable races. The program provides strategic guidance, fundraising support, staff resources, and national attention, signaling the Democrats believe Iowa's second congressional district is a legitimate pickup opportunity in 2026. Something that Josh has talked about, something Lindsay's talked about, something that Jennifer Converse has talked about, something that we've been talking about this whole time is we know District 2 is winnable. And now there's finally some support there from Washington. But I have a statement. I reached out to Lindsey James last night. I asked her if she could send me a statement. And so I'm going to read Lindsay's statement, and I love it. So this is a statement from congressional candidate Lindsey James in District 2. She says, quote, "It's taken a minute for Democrats in D.C. to figure out this is a real race. But I am a persistent redhead, and I will never back down from fighting for Iowans. I'm glad they finally caught on. We're going to flip this seat in November because folks want leaders who have courage of conviction and moral compass, who will do right by their neighbors. As a mom, as a chaplain, I'm ready for that fight." And I absolutely love that statement from Lindsey James because the truth I feel about Lindsey James is this. She comes off to you. She is a very warm person. She is a very, just a good person to talk to and chat with. She gets it. She understands it. But here's what I really know is I know there's a fire there. I know she has that anger in her, and she is upset watching the people that she cares about not be able to make it in this world. And so I am extremely excited for the GCCC to be able to help support her, and get this mega Joe Mitchell out of the way and allow us to have that seat here coming up in November. So I was extremely excited to see that. That's why I wanted to bring it up and talk about it. Dr. Bob, what are your thoughts about it?
I think it's incredible. I want to give credit where it was due, since a lot of legacy media people aren't. Laura Bellin was the first to point out that she thought that race was in play. And I'm just saying that to give, Laura's fantastic. I want to give her credit because in her recent reporting on the Republican Lieutenant Governor Derek Wolf's financial woes, legacy media didn't give her credit. And so I'm going to give her credit on this. And I am excited for Lindsay. I mean, when I see her and, talk with her, and when we had her on the show, it was just like, here's a woman going places. Get on board or get the hell out of the way.
Absolutely. I love how you said that. That is exactly how it is. And she is not scared to have the difficult. I was actually, so what you don't know, nobody knows. I was actually texting her right before we got on to do this podcast because I saw a meme made by the Iowa GOP trying to tear her down as like a cow and her being scared. And I'm just laughing with her. And that's what I love so much about her is like, it doesn't faze her. She sees that and she laughs about it, and then she just turns it into, what it needs to be turned into, and she knows how to make sure that people see it for what it actually is, the attack for what it is. So, I was incredibly excited for her. And here's the thing: we are Sage Against the Machine. We're not all for DC, and we're not for them interfering, and we're not for the. We want real candidates. We want real people. We want truth to power. We want working class people to fight for working class issues. That's what Lindsey James is. I don't give a shit. What I always think about is this: is like how she said it in her statement. It's about time they caught on. We've known that Lindsey James is the person to do that. We know that we have a chance to flip that seat, and it's about time that they finally opened their eyes and saw Lindsey James for who she was in that race for what it is. So I'm excited for that race going forward, and I'm excited to have Lindsey James on again so we can talk about it later on. But just wanted to make sure we highlighted that because I think it needs to be deserved that DC that like Josh Turk mentioned, like said Iowa is going to be the central of the political universe this term around, and that's what it's going to start. We're starting to see. We all got Rob Sand, we got Josh Turk endorsed by Obama, we got Lindsey James now that DC finally recognized it. We got Christina Bohanna, we got STG. We have real chances here, and we have a lot of candidates down ballot across this state that are doing all they can with the little limited resources they have to be able to speak truth to power and fight for people. I am excited for the future of Iowa. I'm hoping that November is what we need it to be. And so I just want to make sure we highlighted Lindsey James for being on here and being recognized by DC, and I hope that bodes well for her going forward. But want to get to the national headline as well. Oh, you got one last thing, Dr. Bob.
Let's not forget Dave Dawson.
Yes, up in District 4.
Yes, let's not forget him. Thanks, Dave, for doing this. You're so respected. It's just your work is.
We got to get Dave on. We definitely got to get Dave on here. I'll reach out and see if we can get him on here. And that's the thing that I'll say this: like we all fall in that trap, Dr. Bob. You mentioned it, where we're almost we're not scared of the district and not scared of Northwest Iowa, but it just gets forgotten about because that is where we have the so hardcore mega Republican people up there. So it's very. A lot of people don't like talking about it, and I'd love to get him on here and get his thoughts on that as well. So we'll reach out and we'll try to get Dave on. I like that you said that, Dr. Bob. So moving right along, we're doing good on time this time, Dr. Bob. So we're not going too far over. So I want to get to our national headline as well, and this will lead me into why I'm cussing. So our national headline that we have out there right now, Dr. Anthony Fauci invokes the Fifth Amendment during the Senate testimony. Fauci repeatedly invoked the Fifth Amendment in a contentious Senate hearing. Repeatedly invoked it during Senate hearing led by Senator Rand Paul, declining to answer questions about the federal COVID-19 response and the origins of the pandemic. The hearing reignited the political debate over pandemic policies, government transparency, and scientific accountability. Before I get into my rant and my thoughts on it, Dr. Bob, I want to hear your thoughts on it specifically in regards to Anthony Fauci.
Well, I listened to it. I listened not to all of it, but to much of it. And it was a disgrace. It was an absolute total disgrace. It was a public ritual of humiliation of a public servant, somebody that has done, all kinds of incredible work, who led our nation through a crisis. But the Republicans, and sure, let's get to the roots of everything and let's, dig into it, and that's fine. But the Republicans aren't interested in that. I heard so many lies, so much misinformation, so much misdirection, and they have no sense of honor or decency. They act like they were from the beginning opposed to masking. They were opposed to shutting things down. They were as scared as everybody else. They were frightened. You'll remember too that the vaccine that they don't like now, that they're trying to kill, President Trump was in office when it came out. President Trump and First Lady Melania were first in line to get the vaccination. But for some reason, they forget all of that when they can hang out Anthony Fauci. It was just disgraceful. And you know what else it is? It's a distraction from the Iran war, from the Epstein files. It's just pure political theater that they went back and high-fived each other and they looked like fools.
Yeah, I don't even want to give this time to talk about this headline because I want to get right into my cussing because I'm already pissed. Dr. Bob, you do real, man. I just bring you on the road with me to rile me up because my God. So This is exactly why I'm cussing. Whether you agreed with every COVID-19 policy or not, turning one public health official into the face of every frustration a frustrated America had during the pandemic doesn't solve the real problem that this country faced. Millions of Americans were scared. Leaders at every level, like you said, Dr. Bob, were making decisions with incomplete information. In hindsight, it's always then clearer afterwards that we were living through a crisis. And one thing that I just say this, like, it pisses me off because what we are seeing is people, and you said this during COVID, Dr. Bob, what we are seeing is people who have blood on their hands, who the reason that people in this country have died, literally have died, is because the continued bitching, complaining about simple fucking things. Okay, I get it. I get it. You don't want to wear a mask. You want to be a giant fucking crybaby one moment, then you want to go over here and be a toxic masculine piece of shit over here the next minute. You want to act like you're fucking hard while millions of people literally fucking died. Okay, and this man, Anthony Fauci, was stuck with an incompetent president telling him what he needed to be doing, while Dr. Fauci is a fucking doctor who has been doing this for, 50 years? He's been doing this forever. He's trying to do all he can to make sure that people in America are taken care of, and he's been turned into a villain by people that don't want to take responsibility for killing other Americans. That is the blatant honesty of it. And that shit drives me nuts because we've taken this good man, this good person who has done all he can, public service, trying to fight for people, into this talking point we're talking about now. And here's the most disgusting fucking thing about it is Rand Paul's Rand Paul, but they took his personal diary and turned it into a spectacle. And anybody who knows the show The Office, like I know the show The Office, it reminds me of Michael Scott when he's doing the deposition. They took his diary and everybody had a copy and everybody's reading it. Like, I got to give it up to Dr. Fauci for invoking that and being the person he is and staying calm the way he is. You could tell when he was reading his message, he was shaking a little bit because he has to be so incredibly pissed off and frustrated that you've given your life to something and all you've gotten is Republican dumbasses telling you that you didn't do it right. And here's the thing also that you just mentioned, Dr. Bob. It was 6 fucking years ago, or 5, 6 years ago, that all of this happened, right? That we were trying to do the best with the information that we had. He was trying to do all he could. And what's the best case scenario when anybody's sick? And regardless of COVID or whatever, stay the fuck away from them. Get away from people, right? That's what he was trying to do. He was trying. It's like people complaining about masks are the same people that complained about putting a seatbelt on in the 80s, or the same people that complained about, we can't drink and drive anymore. Like, it's that same stupid mentality, and I'm so fucking tired of it. I'm so tired of these games, and I know that everybody else is fucking tired of it. We're tired of watching TV every day, watching a good person be thrown under the bus because Republicans are scared to take accountability for the things they did. But here's the thing that's going to happen. Because they don't want to take accountability, because they want to continue to pushing shit down and kicking the can down the road, the midterms are coming up and the accountability is coming. And that's what's going to happen in this country is you're going to continue to bullshit us and lie to us and treat us like we don't matter. We're going to come after you. Meaning, we're going to make sure that those seats turn to people that are actually here to fight for us and actually here to represent us. We're going to turn to people that are doing all they can. A Jerrad Christian in Ohio who's doing all he can with the limited resources he can, works a full-time job and continues to fight for us. That's what we're going to do is we're going to turn and make this place where we're actually fighting for everyday people every day of our lives, because that's what we need. We're going to create a divide in this country. Not one we have now. We're going to create a divide with the haves and the have-nots. That's what we're doing right now. And you want to continue to not take accountability. You want to continue to berate a good person in this world. The good people are going to stand up and start fighting back. I'm so fucking done with Republicans, and I'm so done with these COVID deniers and this election deniers and every bullshit, stupid, chaotic thing we're fucking dealing with in this country, because people can't use critical thinking skills to realize what's really going on. That's where I'm cussing today. That shit that I saw with the way they treated Dr. Fauci makes my fucking blood boil, and I hope a lot of people are pissed off about it as well, because we need pissed off people go to the polls to vote these assholes out. So that's my thought on it. I wish we could give Dr. Fauci a microphone, let him stand up in front of a crowd and say the things that he really wants to say. But the truth about him is, and what I've gathered is, it's not about him. He wants to make it about trying to protect people, serve people, and that is why he is a good human being. And I'm so tired of shitty Republicans who kill people, starve people. You talked about the violence, Dr. Bob. I'm so tired of this where they can do the things they're doing, and how the fuck they sleep at night, I don't know. And, I'm just done with it. So that is why I'm cussing today. That is why we need to stop sitting on the sidelines. That's why we're doing this podcast and speaking truth to power, because we cannot sit here and watch these lying sack of shits lie to us anymore and create a circus out of nothing and do all they can to make sure that their rich friends are taken care of while all of us are dying in the streets. That's why they're not taking accountability, because the people that died during this, they know that they're the people that don't have the resources to go to the hospital. They don't have the ability to take care of themselves. That's why they passed away from COVID. That's why they don't care, because they don't care about those people. And that's why we have to continue to come together as a country. We have to continue to fight for what we believe in. We need to continue to speak truth to power and talk to our neighbors. That is why I'm cussing today. Dr. Bob Leonard, anything else you got on that?
No, I'm good. Please subscribe, share.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Dr. Bob Leonard, again for being on here. I want to say again to thank you to congressional candidate in Ohio's District 12, Jerrad Christian, for joining us on today's broadcast and being on here. And I do want to say, if you get a chance, 5, 10, 20, 15, 20, whatever you can spare, please help him out as well in Ohio. We need good people to represent us across this country. So please do it. You'll find all your links in the post. Like Dr. Bob said, like us, share, subscribe, help us grow this, help us grow the Sage Against the Machine podcast. We need as much help as we can. And I know that there's people out there that are listening. And I know there's people out there that are sharing. Share again. Keep doing all you can to let people know that there's people out there fighting for us. So again, thank you to Jerrad Christian. I do want to preview next week. Guess who we got, Dr. Bob, on Tuesday?
Tell me.
We got Rita Hart coming on. So we're going to have Rita Hart, the chair of the Iowa Democratic Party, coming on. We're going to ask her a lot of questions. I know you're probably going to want to ask a lot about the caucuses and things like there. But I consider Rita a friend. I appreciate Rita a lot. Our relationship went from nothing to where it is now. I know that she has a tough job. So I'm excited to have her on. We'll have Brian Meyer on Thursday coming on, and then we got some great candidates coming up on the following weeks as well. August is right around the corner. Dr. Bob, we finished July. We made it 1 month on the Sage Against the Machine podcast. I think it's been a great time. But I appreciate you being on here, joining me as well, helping me get riled up enough to speak the truth that I speak to power. So again, thank you to everybody that tuned in. Until next week, catch me on the flippity flip.
No holding back, we